And we're live. It's Whiskey Watches and Wheels, back for another one. I was not here last week, but Casey and Kevin rocked it. Great.
Best episode ever?
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but it was pretty darn good episode.
You could.
It was an easy one to skip.
And matter of fact, it was so good, Kevin's not with us tonight. He just decided to take the week off. Yeah. But we do have a special guest tonight. So before we get to our special guest, gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
I'm Casey.
And I'm James.
And JP, you introduce yourself, my friend.
I'm JP, a.k.a. Dad Mods Watches on YouTube and the owner of Noctua Watches.
Man, I have to give you kudos for a couple arenas. One, thank you, because as a newer guy to the modding game, I'd been dreaming of doing it for years, never had the opportunity to never really decided to jump into it. Finally did. And your videos have become very helpful. So thank you. When you're trying to learn some stuff. Yeah, when you're trying to learn some stuff, I'm a subscriber and it's one of those things that really helps me. And, you reached out to us on Instagram actually it's on YouTube. And I'm like, man, I started looking at your channel. I'm like, dude, where was this guy a month ago when I was just getting into this thing? So I binged a lot of your stuff and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I guess let's start with a wristwatch check, because we're all watch guys. And so let's, what are you guys wearing tonight? JP, you're the guest. Let's start with you.
Guest of honor.
All right.
And I hope it's one of your own watches.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I gotta say, yeah, it is.
Yeah, man. It's got to be the branding. Come on. Go ahead.
It's a new, I guess, prototype I'm thinking about. I'm working on.
Ooh,
it's
very
basically
nice.
Like it.
My watch just blacked out.
Yeah.
So I haven't done an all black version yet. My Noctua watches are all sandblasted, case and bracelet. So this is the same thing, just all black and PVD'd.
I love
I'm not
it.
terribly sure about it yet, but
I like the Black Jubilee.
Yeah, what's your initial impressions on that one?
I don't the bracelet and the case don't match the finishing.
Oh,
so that I don't like. That'll have to sort out. But I haven't found an all black like a PVD Jubilee like this before. So I was kind of curious to play with that. And
the only one that I can think of that's similar, and James, you'll know more about this, is the old Seiko speed timer that's black, and it's not obviously a Jubilee band, but it's got a black band. That's
I have a Seiko.
Our homeboy had it on his IG the other day.
Yeah, I have a Seiko with a black band on it, but it's gloss, and that's a matte finish there.
Yeah.
So
I like the matte.
I like it a lot.
Either way, I really like it. So
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
I do as well.
Sign me up.
I do as well. But you're right on about the matching. It's the one thing that I found, and we'll get to the rest of the watches here in a second. But when you're ordering these parts, man, it's one of those things that I almost wish I had a way to tool my own stuff, because it's the only way to know that it's going to match. You're buying this stuff and you get it and it looks like it's going to match, and you get it in and it's off a little bit and you're like,
Yeah, black is not always black, right?
No, it is not.
So at 72 DPI, they all look alike, right? As far as the colors do.
No joke. Yeah.
So that's always the toughest thing. And
all right.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right.
Oh, yeah. I'll go next. I am wearing a Russian watch. I'm wearing my Sturmansky Gagarin. Cool little
Ruski
watch that went to outer space. So I've had it here on the show before.
Not that one.
Not
no, this one.
As far as we know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I ever hit the lottery and I decide to go on Bezos's dick missile to the sky, then I can take.
It's a dick missile.
Well, have you ever seen the shape of it? It's very phallic.
I mean, it's a rocket.
It's a rocket.
It's very. No. I think dick missile's a better terminology for it.
All right.
Listen, I'm a marketing guy. I'm gonna write him. I was, hey man, you need to rebrand. It needs to be called the Dick Missile.
100% that was intentional.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. All right, gentlemen, who's next?
I can go. I've got my speed timer, or one of my speed timers on, and if I told you the year, I think it's 71.
Okay.
I don't know if I wore this one last week or not, because I usually wear them 2 weeks at a time, right? But
well, I don't think you and Kevin even did a wristwatch check last week.
Okay, well, good.
So you're good.
But it's black face, black dial with the blue sub dial, gray top dial. I don't know. I really like it. I think the blue pops.
Very classic, very 70s.
Yep, and I like these speed timers that have the different color sub dials.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am wearing my 1976 Seiko Captain Willard.
There you go.
Right.
Fabulous.
Very nice.
Yeah. So this one is in quite delicious shape.
Yeah.
So always a good one. But that is a 6105-8119, known as the Captain Willard.
Wow.
There you go. Let's
And
go.
in 1976, you were already married with 4 kids at that point?
I started early. I got married at 11.
Yeah. So there's like a 10, JP, just so you know, we have a running joke. There's like a 10-year span. So Kevin and I are pretty much the same age. James is about, I think, 8 years older than we are, or something like that. And Casey's like 8 years younger. So there's like a span. Yeah. So we always joke about James being the old man.
Yeah. There's a 20-year.
Or as I lovingly refer to him as Pop Pop.
Yeah. There's a 19-year difference, Casey?
I'm
18 or
41.
19.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's okay.
Yep. So it's great. We have a great camaraderie. You know, we all met on a Porsche rally. We're all Porsche guys, and that's how we met. And we've been, shooting the shit ever since. So
Okay, I'm going to hold on.
What?
I finally am able to find this Seiko that I was referring to.
Okay.
And it's important that we see it. And I'm wrong. I think it's a black leather band. Let me pull it up. I just had to transfer it over here.
or is it rubber?
It could be a rubber band.
Yes, it's rubber.
Oh, it's rubber. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I love this watch. I'm definitely adding it. And if that had a matching black Jubilee, I think that'd be really cool too. But if it's rubber, so be it. But this is another one I love.
Well,
with the cool
Hey,
colors.
listen, I see $350. I see buy it now. What are you waiting for?
I just bought it.
Sold out.
That's how Casey. Now you know how I feel when I found the watch and Kevin was right next to me 2 weeks ago and he bought it on the
And
spot.
sniped it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is just coming from Google Images, so I don't know if that's an active thing or not.
Well,
All
JP, would you consider a rubber strap on yours?
My watches actually sell with rubber straps. All my watches do.
All of them.
Yep. Yeah, he's actually got a really great selection on his website. So, let's start there, JP. Tell us about kind of how you. I mean, I know how I got into watch modding. How did you get into watch modding, and how that kind of parlayed and brought you into starting your own micro brand? Because I find it extremely fascinating. So I want to hear the whole story.
Well, okay.
And we got plenty of time, man. So take your time.
Start at the beginning.
Jeez. The beginning? Uh-oh.
His mom met his dad. And then...
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, not even going to lie. I was, at the time, I'm a professional driver. I drive everything and anything. At the time, I was long haul trucking and, the big C word hit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of messed up everything. I was sitting at home picking my nose, had to find another job, wound up getting hurt at said job. Well, now I'm sitting at home picking my nose and nobody's hiring anymore. And, convalescing, crying on the couch. Figured, okay, watching too much YouTube like everybody was doing. And watches. Always loved watches. It started watching the watch YouTubers, and it just sparked that passion again that I hadn't really paid attention to for so many years. I hated wearing watches at work because if I'm wearing one, I'll look at it, just so the day just seems to creep by. So I never wore a watch at work or like to have clocks around me at all. But anyway, I convalescing, sitting at home, found watches, found watch modding. Figured, okay, that gives me something to do with my hands while I'm sitting here, at the coffee table or whatever I was doing at the moment. Ordered some parts, made a couple watches. Somebody saw them, liked them, said, hey, could you make me one? Sure, no problem.
It's a story
Rinse,
I've heard
repeat.
recently.
Yeah, rinse, repeat. And it just kind of blossomed from there. And I figured, okay, well, I started seeing this on YouTube. How hard would it be to set up my phone and it can just watch me do what I'm doing anyway? There started Dad Mods Watches on YouTube, right? And
are you in fact a dad?
I am 2 times over.
All right.
So that's a legit. Yeah.
All right. It's kind of catchy, so.
Well,
Yeah,
and-
well, it was,
and-
the obvious play on words, right?
Hey, my license plate on my car says Dad 911, so I'm right there with you.
Nice.
Man. So yeah.
Nice. No, that's
Yeah, but-
perfect.
Dad mod versus dad bod.
No,
I got it.
Yeah.
That's marketing right there.
there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, then of course life continued to kick me while shit was down, and pardon, I don't know if I could.
Oh,
We
dude, no,
swear.
listen.
We can cuss a lot.
We swear.
all good?
So
Okay,
don't
cool.
worry. It's all good.
I'm a trucker.
Come on, we talk
so
about dick missile.
It happens.
We're good.
Hey.
Yes, we're good.
So yeah, shit happened. Life happened. I wound up in a situation now where I'm full-time caregiver for my mother, who's going to be 88 this year, and again needed a something I can do from home. So figured out, okay, I'm doing this watch thing. What else can I do with this? Another midlife crisis kind of
Yeah.
moment, right? I can buy the Porsche, or I can start a watch company. I already have
That's tough.
yeah, exactly, right? Right?
Yeah.
I have a fast car though. So I got the sports car kind of deal covered.
What were you
okay,
driving? Hold on. What were you driving?
I'm driving currently.
Are you
AM
driving?
2010 Mazda Speed 3.
Oh, my man.
Yep.
Nice.
So
Yes.
And
This is a man after my own heart right here.
Yep.
modded, tuned,
Good.
moderately spicy.
All the JDM goodies.
Yeah, exactly. About 3 1/4 to the front wheels.
I love
Perfect.
But anyway, so sitting around again, too much time on my hands, being at home, and decided, okay, I have the skills. There's a lot of microbrands out there, but not a lot of people doing what I intend to do, and that's literally build them all myself.
Right.
I kind of moved into Edmonton, where I'm living right now, to take care of my mom while she's in her golden years, kind of thing. So I don't even have a lot of friends here or anything like that. So a lot of time.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Turn it into something. Happen to get to know the right people at the right times and speak to the right people at the right times.
And what does that
It was
mean?
great.
What do you mean
Well-
you met the right people?
Well, because I was involved in YouTube already, I had a little bit of. I knew a few people. I'd already interacted with a few people, a few of the other creators and things like that. So I had a little bit of information and different places that I could pull information from.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that to my advantage.
Yeah, you had a sounding board, someone to throw stuff at. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And besides that, there was a fellow, his name's Jason Hutton. He was on I won't call it a podcast, but on a YouTube channel that is a guy that I know quite well. And just by chance, I put 2 and 2 together, realized who he was. The timing was right. Jason Hutton had started the Canadian microbrand watch movement, I'll say for sure, because Canada's a desert completely. We've had literally, and I'll count them down for you, 2 watch shows. That's it. That's it. One on the East Coast in Toronto, and one just last month at the end of April in
Which we're gonna get to, 'cause I wanna hear all about it.
West Coast.
Is it because there's no sun there and it's miserable?
No, actually, I wish there was an obvious answer to it, because it really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There's
You would think
shitloads of
that
money here.
Toronto or Montreal would
Right.
have some sort of
Or
scene,
Vancouver.
Something.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a reliance on just because south of the border are all these shows? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And there's just hasn't been any drive to a need. And that's the whole thing. You need to create the need. It's an artificial need, mind you, but you need to create it.
Right.
Now it's been started. Toronto, I was talking to Jason. He said Toronto did around just over 2,000 people, minus the media day prior.
And such,
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Vancouver did 2,600, I believe he said.
And how does that
Wow.
compare to North America?
Oh, you guys, oh my God. Anywhere in Texas, you guys are dropping 30,000 people. at an
That's
event
crazy.
over a weekend, right? So that's massive. But he already has the next Toronto event planned, and it's next September again. He already has the next Vancouver venue booked for next year.
All I know is I hear road trip.
100%.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And
100%.
I've told this story a little bit on here before, but my wife and I road tripped up through Canada and around the Great Lakes and through Sault Ste. Marie and Wawa and around. But I'll tell you, it was a blast, and we want to do it again. And so this might be a reason to do it.
There you go.
For sure. Toronto's a guarantee. Vancouver again is a guarantee next spring. I know he also wants to put together a Montreal event, and he has dropped nuggets about some sort of European event, like organizing something. But regardless, it needed to happen because it's just completely dry here. I mean, even where I am, there's one Rolex AD. This is the capital of my province.
Wow, that's insane.
It's dead here.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the Rolex AD, they're ridiculous. They are the epitome of the Rolex ADs.
They're all that way.
Zero competition.
Yeah. Oh,
exactly.
I don't know.
You'd like special. A GMT? Yeah, you can have that in 2035.
It's like getting a GT3 allotment.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
How many cars you have to buy?
I'll give you a GMT if you buy 14 watches before.
Yes.
Please use the warming lubricant. Thanks.
Yes. How many Air Kings can I put you down for?
Although the new Land Dweller looks pretty hot. I've seen some of those in the live, and they're looking pretty good.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I like it.
No, I'm not. I'm just not a fan. You know,
I just don't want to hear anybody complaining anymore about the whole how to say it nicely.
Don't say it nicely.
We're not politically correct.
Rolex fully copied Tissot. Like, come on, they just finally got on the fucking bandwagon with the integrated bracelets.
Exactly.
But that's a PRX.
Yeah, I have nothing against Rolex.
I'm honestly surprised that they did that, but good on them.
I have nothing against Rolex. I like Rolex, but I'd go out and buy a Tudor before I buy a Rolex, personally.
Because you can actually buy it, and that's what you're saying. Like,
maybe.
Can go spend. You can go to the AD and walk in and spend $5,500 and have a stellar looking Tudor in those matte colors, which I really, really like. They look fantastic, and we know they're high quality watches. It just doesn't, I
love the Black Bay. The Black Bay. I mean, so there's not a Rolex GMT. It speaks to me. I like it. It's a classic look. You're not going to lose any money. Not that I'm in it to make money. I think if you're a watch
person at all, of course, a GMT talks to you. There's just so much look. History in it and whatnot.
But I like the Black Bay just as much at a fraction of the price.
I have. They don't do anything for me.
Tudor?
GMT.
Oh, GMT?
Yeah. Oh. Well, you're weird. So
I know.
It's okay.
I do like GMTs.
Somehow it all works out well for me, Casey.
I own 5 Seiko GMTs, so I do like the GMT style. So
yeah. I love the GMT complication for
I was sitting right here on my desk from earlier today.
Oh, I like that one. I like that yellow dial. I got the 005, the orange one.
Nice.
I just got
that too.
I do have the orange one, and I got the black one, and I got a blue one, and I ordered an Asia only salmon dial one. It's really hot.
Oh,
nice.
So, it's really cool. It's like a copper dial.
So sorry to interrupt your story, so keep going.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Shit, where was I?
Well, we're on YouTube now. Now you're on YouTube. You got people reaching out to
Vancouver,
you.
So on and so on.
That kind of thing. So how did that parlay into? I mean, I know you said, "Hey, I can do this for a living," and but Noctua watches. Where did that idea come from? Obviously, you're trying to light up the world with Noctua because the Loom on your watches is absolutely astonishing. Kudos to you.
Oh, come on. I'm a Loom whore like most of us are, right? Us desk divers are. I have the skills to do the job. There's nobody around me doing it. I saw the tiniest little gap in the market. I love German watches, like the German aesthetic, like Sinn, Hanhart, Damasco, Mula Glashut, all of those. I love them. I don't know what it is about it, but hey, that's where I am at the moment. So but nobody's doing that as a type of, I don't want to say homage because they're not really homages, but okay, loosely, sure. It's definitely that design language. I can't deny that. So I went that way just because I can't afford the Sinn. So, okay, I can build one and I'll put my logo on it. The Noctua thing, that was, I had the logo first and I had to come up with a name after. So I had to justify the owl logo. And
so where did you get that then from?
Came up with it. I'm an ancient history buff. So that, I don't know how I actually came across it, but Noctua Athene. So it's literally, it was the owl, the little owl of wisdom that spoke to Athena about, war strategies and things like that. And I thought, well, that's kind of strangely.
I listened.
It's
right?
great.
I listened to the podcast. You all should probably listen to it. Hardcore History with Dan Carlin, but he talks about this very thing with Athena as he's talking about the Greek and Roman stuff. But he talks about Noctua.
Oh, interesting.
In his podcast. Cool. Yeah.
I usually get Noctua. Just because the timing, right?
Well, that'll work too.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's it. Hey. That's a different logo, actually. Yes. That's a different logo.
Different logo, yes.
Yeah.
We enjoy it just as much.
There you go. I keep telling everybody, she never did actually let loose on who the guy she was speaking of.
No.
It's true.
We'll never know.
But I'm pretty confident that she's seen a Dick missile. That's all I'm saying.
I bet you she has.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah. After that, like I said, I spoke to Jason Hutton just because I had that slight in connection and got myself a seat in Vancouver at the Vancouver Timepiece Show.
Yeah.
So I opened the Noctua doors in October last year. And I was in Vancouver last month and it was just absolutely fabulous. Just to be able to meet the people that, that I was interacting with was incredible. Cool. And next door to me was Hanhart, of all companies.
Wow.
It was awesome. So I got to meet and interact with Felix and Franz, and they were just amazing guys.
Well, the cool thing about that is it's part, all these shows, regardless of what industry you're in, it's part getting your wares out there, letting people see it and that kind of thing, promoting your brand. But it's just as much networking and learning the ins and outs and making connections with other organizations. And so it's really a win-win on all aspects.
Well, and I think
100%.
And James can talk on this probably a lot more than I can. But I think part of success for many companies is the branding. And your logo on these watches, I'm looking at your site right now. It looks really sharp because it fits in on the dial really well. It's interesting, and while you can say, "Oh, it's just like a kind of like a modern take on owl's eyes or whatever," it's a really cool look. And some of these Microbrands labels get kind of intrusive into the look of the watch, and they look too big, or they're kind of a stupid name, or the script is bad, or whatever. I think that your logo really fits on a dial well, and it is just enough to like make it interesting, but not intrusive.
Thank you. Well, there's actually, what you're saying about it being too intrusive. Exactly that. I listened a lot to, before I came up with my logo, like designing it was a pain in the ass, because exactly like what you're saying, it has to be eye catching, but not in the way. Everybody, most people don't like a really busy dial. And I wanted to throw a lot of Loom at it, so it's going to be busy anyway. I wanted to have my logo loomed, just party tricks, but a fella, I can't remember where I got it from, most likely on YouTube. The way of the future, and especially if you want to appeal to countries that don't speak your language, have a logo rather than a company name. I mean, not to pick on Christopher Ward, because come on, let's be fair. If I can match them, I'm doing okay.
Right.
But the word Christopher Ward, the words, drop that, have that the Swiss English logo, now everybody around the world, you recognize the logo.
Recognize
you don't even have to speak English to read the words.
Yep.
So I laid that into it.
Yeah, and I agree. And if we take this, a 60,000 foot view, I think some of the most, if not all of the most famous brands in the world have a logo that you can recognize without having to understand the language.
Well,
exactly. It's just a picture.
But a lot of that comes to the marketing budgets.
Yeah,
the more you see
100%.
it, the more you see it,
sure.
the more you're going to recognize it. So, it doesn't mean it's a good logo. It doesn't mean it's a bad logo. It's just that there's money behind it.
Logo.
Yes,
it's
a logo and in your face.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Well, and the Nike swoosh is a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
like drawn for $20. Come on.
Yeah, I saw a car the other day that had the Nike swoosh on the whole side. Instead of going that livery look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But might as well put like Bear aspirin on the side of your car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And James, at your advanced age, you're using a lot of Bayer aspirin.
Yes, baby aspirin every day.
Yeah. One a day.
Protect your heart.
Yeah.
You can do PSAs.
Well, kudos to you on the branding, because I have a long way to go before I ever have my own micro brand. But I was toying around with, if I did have that, what would I call it? And we had a little group. We have a little group chat between us, and I'm like, this is freaking hard, man. Trying to come up with a name for a freaking watch brand is not easy. So
no, it's not. And honestly, that's probably was one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, other than the fact that I'm an ancient history buff, it has nothing. It means nothing.
But that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. The thing is that you have a story.
It does, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's still a story there.
True enough.
So it's not just this random mark. There's a story to it. You're a history buff, right? So there's a story, and then it just takes on your personality, especially if you're the one that's hand making every one of these. It just becomes part of you.
Right.
So
for the moment, at least, yeah.
Hopefully
I get big enough I don't have to, but yeah.
Right.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Well, listen, you're not starting from nowhere. I mean, you have several thousand followers on YouTube, which is several thousand more than we got. So you're doing something right.
Thank you. Yeah, and you know what? That was another thing. I didn't really want to. In the beginning, I was thinking, okay, I don't want to have the connection between a brand and watch modding, things like that. But I figured, that's my leverage right there. That's my kind of toe in the door.
Legacy.
So
I mean, your viewers, I think, will find it cool that, especially the ones that were with you since the beginning, that, hey, we're following this guy, we're watching his content, and he's parlaying that into his own brand, and they're getting to see it at the ground level, which is really cool for a lot of people.
And I'm looking at your Instagram page. Your mods are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I really, really like a lot of these, to the point where I might have to spend some coin on getting some of these. But you see some of the mods out there on Reddit or Instagram or whatever, and they're hot garbage. They're wild. They don't, they're not congruent. But your mods look really, really good, and
thank you.
I mean, it's impressive. But I really like it. I mean,
a little bit of OCD probably helps.
Yeah, of course it does. But I really like your branded stuff, and we're gonna have to add one or two.
There you go,
for sure.
No, you talk to me. We'll hook you up
for sure.
So I talked about this a little bit offline before we hopped on, but for the listeners, I'm having problems sourcing certain parts in the United States because go figure, parts of the world where
they've been put on hold for 3 months, 90 days. Come on.
I know, but they don't
need to order stuff.
Yeah. Well, no, a lot of them still aren't shipping to the United States, even though the tariffs are off. They're physically, you try to order it and it says, we no longer ship to your region.
Fortunately, you know somebody in Canada.
Well, exactly. I have to have them shipped to him and him and bootleg them into me. But are you having issues getting stuff into Canada, I guess?
I have not.
Good for
not
you.
so far.
Yeah.
So that's,
Can you get a P.O. box in Canada?
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
So how was it a struggle for you to find reliable vendors and to get all your stuff manufactured? Not looking for any secret squirrel stuff, but was it a challenge finding vendors that was going to, I guess I'm OCD like you, so it's going to give you a fit and finish on cases and things that you're satisfied with.
Reliable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. 100% a challenge.
Yeah.
My ace in the hole, as far as all that goes, I have a friend that's Chinese, lives in Hong Kong.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I got a neighbor that's from Hong Kong. Maybe he should help.
There you go. Like my dials, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to him. He said, "Oh yeah, I got a buddy that works in a factory that up. Awesome. Thanks, man. This is what I need." He said, "No problem." And he's kind of working. He's been, since I've known the guy, he's working on his own watch. I hope he brings it out soon.
Yeah.
But he's more OCD than I am, which is brilliant because he, both times on both my dials, he got the dials before I did and sent a bunch back. Said, "No, I'm not accepting these." Whereas in reality, you do that, you get the dials sent here from China.
Mm-hmm.
They'll argue with
you're not sending them back
the whole time. No, you're not. And they'll just say, "Oh, no problem, our fault. Here, give us another X amount of dollars and we'll send you the fixed, the fixed ones," or whatever the problem is. But it's always going to cost you more money.
Correct.
Whereas him, boots on the ground, he just said, "Fuck you. Who do you think I am?"
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry.
That's
I
awesome.
eat as much rice as you do. So.
Well, we were talking about the rotors that I ordered, and it's like I ordered from one vendor, and then they canceled the order on me. Then I found them, but then they were more expensive from the next vendor, and I ordered them, and 4 days later they refunded my money back. They canceled the order. So I found them from a third vendor, and guess what? They were still more expensive again. So I finally got them shipped, but it's like, Jesus, how much more are these things going to go up? So
yeah. Well, this was horrible timing with the tariffs anyway, because all the prices were going up. They were right in the process of going up over the last handful of months here since the new year. So this just horrible, horrible timing, because the prices are not going to come down to what people want them to be anyway.
No. And of course, when you work in the modding world, and like I said, I didn't get into this to necessarily sell watches. So all of us have really good jobs and for the most part, very stressful jobs. So I like doing creative stuff.
What? I have a career. Okay.
Yes, this is a career. There you go. You have a career. And I do have a career, but I'm in management, and it's very stressful at times. And I was looking for a stress reliever, and so that's how I got into it, because it just kept my mind off stuff. I put in some earbuds and listen to music and build some watches. And after a while, my wife is like, "So how many more are you going to build? Because you have like 50 watches now." And I said, "Well, you're right." And so,
shouldn't the stress be gone now, Matt?
Yeah, exactly, right. So she goes, "You should start selling them."
Watch that does that.
Stacy was the one that said you should sell them, and I said, "Well, I'm not really trying to make money." She goes, "No, it's not about that." But she goes, "Do you want to keep building watches?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You don't need any more. You might as well sell them."
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of parlayed for me, And so I built that the bronze one. And a couple of people reached out and said, "Hey, I really like that."
It's kind of a similar story, though.
Yeah, it's
right, JP?
Reached out.
Fund the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Fund the hobby, fund your spare time. And then it just kind of, I wound up in another situation where, shit, here we go again. Mm-hmm. I just needed it to start making money. So don't get me wrong. It's not making money yet, but...
So JP, so essentially what you were doing was you were doing watch mods, and then at some point you're like, okay, let me do my own
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be the same thing because it's the same parts, more or less, just different versions, different colors, different this, different that, right? So
can you talk about... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I was let's say a vintage car mechanic, if I could do the work, well, shit, I'd just go be a vintage car mechanic.
Right.
Period.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about, because your Loom is phenomenal, right?
Thank you.
I don't know if this is something you hang your hat on, but I think it's super, super cool. But can you talk about the process of maybe, did you have to try several different looms? are there different looms out there? Like, what is the process that you went through to kind of settle on where you're at today with this loom?
Well, with this one, I wanted what I know. So it's a C3 Super Luminova. That I know is tried and true. I'm not going to bother to reinvent the wheel. And that was my whole idea behind all of this. There's no point. It's already been done. The designs have been done. This or that, it's been done. This is man jewelry. That's all it is. So I knew what I wanted. I know what works. I just didn't argue. Just go with it. Keep it simple, stupid, basically.
Are there any, or maybe I should ask this, what major brands are using this same loom?
Almost all of them.
Okay.
C3 Super Luminova is a standard. It's a staple.
This would be what's on Kevin's new Belova.
Correct. Yeah, and Luminox uses
very
it.
Likely.
So, yeah,
Very likely.
That's where I was going. Just drawing the connection between a microbrand using the same stuff that the big guys are using.
100%. C3 Super Luminova is very typically the green that you'll see in most watches, and then you'll have BGW9, which is the blue.
Okay.
So, and that again, that goes across multiple brands from high to low. So they're just they have the most staying power, basically.
And then how did you had that German influence, but then how did you go down this path to find your look of your dial and case?
I have two watches that I've lusted over, like that I wanted for no particular reason. I can't even explain why. I've never even held these watches. I've just seen them. It's the Seiko Spork, the SRP 043, and the Sinn 857. So if you take a look at those, you'll immediately see the design influence, especially from the Sinn.
Yeah.
And that tegumented, not sure how that's pronounced, that steel from the Sinn is, I drool over that. So can't
not so much the price, $2,200 I see on eBay at the moment.
Yeah, and that's USD, so that's like a condo in Canada.
Wow. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sharp.
Yeah. Well, to me, at least, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted that. I wanted the look as close as I could get between the two. And I just kind of aimed. It's kind of a Hail Mary thing, honestly. As far as parts and everything goes, it worked well. I have a couple of different connections because I have a few years behind me with dad mods.
Right.
So I just leaned on that, talked to the people that I know, and found what I kind of needed from different back channels.
Isn't it amazing what you can do if you just ask?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. I think that, I find I'm in a tech design industry, and I just find that, each year the kids get younger and younger, and they get involved less and less with actually communicating. And they will sit there and they will type up an email 5 different times plus responses back and forth, where I would pick up the phone and I'm done in 30 seconds. Got my answer. And they're like,
there you go.
How did you do that?
So
you ask.
Funny story. Because I was in Vegas over the weekend for work at a lab where I work with fellowship level surgeons, and it's funny because that you say that. It's because like I'm very much like you, James. Like I'm what am I? I'm a millennial, but I'm much more like Gen X, like focused. Like I'm much closer to Gen X. So I'm much more like face to face. Like I'm going to ask you the hard question, like face to face. Like I'm going to make it awkward, right? Like it's fine. I'm
going to make you talk to me.
Yeah, I'm okay with awkward.
Absolutely.
Like I'm going to ask you the difficult questions face to face. But the guys I'm working with are now early 30s. So it's a different generation. It's a different mindset. So I'm working with these guys, and I'm asking for like future business when they get out into the real world or whatever. And there's like this almost like this double take of like are you really asking me this? Like right now? Like, whoa, this is weird. And it's the same thing though, right? Like there's the generational difference. And I think it's important that when you're kind of putting these things out there that you know who you're talking to. But
well, the secret of that is you just make sure that you text them while you're standing in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done that, and I probably would have got
just
more.
Ask them the question face to face through a text, and then it'll connect.
It's funny
tangent.
Yeah, no joke.
No, the face to face, the communication like that is paramount to something like this, and that's what everybody in the watch industry is craving. I mean, even like we talked about just offline about the ADs here. Yeah, everybody has a horror story. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants that communication or that connection. Mm-hmm. We all want to talk with other watch nerds. Exactly.
Absolutely. So that's how we got together, because as Matt was saying, we met at a Porsche rally. Well, we already had that commonality just walking in the door. So that's hot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's why I pulled it up. I think this is a phenomenal looking watch.
Yeah.
This is a friend of mine, Brian, he lives in Osaka. He's also a Canadian guy, but he's lives in Osaka
confusing
with his
us
family.
now.
He hand makes those watches, like the cases. He actually turns them himself on a lathe.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want, man. I want to freaking machine my own parts at some point.
Yeah, he's a machinist, and he turns those all out of titanium. He blues the case backs himself. He legitimately makes those by hand.
Wow,
those are beautiful. I have yet to get my hands on one, and I feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm. Tell him to quit being a dick and send you one.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually, I won't give him a hard time simply because he had a bit of a travesty lately. Late last year, they got a house fire.
Oh, that's awful.
So he lost a bunch of stuff in the workshop.
Wow. So
he works out of his home too, so that was his home.
We're going to transition.
Cut him a break, Casey.
We'll go from tragedy.
He's a really good guy though.
To this butte as well, and I need you to do me one of these.
Nice. Yeah.
How do you
sold it?
Well, of course you did, but can you make these skeleton dials that?
Yes, there are movements that you can use and make skeleton, like a skeleton dial. Yeah,
I mean, that's beautiful.
NH70.
That Loom, I mean, that is the tits. I love that.
Yeah, that was a really nice watch, that Tissot. Mm-hmm. I actually got that for just about nothing. I picked it out of a garage sale.
Oh wow, that's amazing!
Wow,
it was just in horrible condition. I couldn't. I'm a non-smoker. I used to be a smoker, so now the smell of cigarettes kind of drives me up the wall. Sometimes, not always, but that thing, the leather band was just crumbling, and the stink of it was just, oh my God. I put it underwater and had to take it apart underwater and ziplocked it and threw the band away, and that was just.
But that's
horrible.
the cool thing about that's what I love about this hobby, is that you can take stuff like that and you can take it apart and you can make it. You can either restore 100%. It back to what it was or make it something completely different. It is 100%. It's amazing.
Have you put together a chronograph yet?
I have not done a chronograph, only because up until now, again, I'm new to this. I've been using mostly NH35 movements. I like automatic movements. And so the movement to get a true automatic chronograph movement, it's really up there in price. That was something that I built up myself. So then you have to do, a Mecha Quartz or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what most of the Seiko ones out there.
You got to take that leap.
Yeah. So, but I have not done one of those yet, just because I got to walk before I run,
If you're interested,
I am.
We talked about Microbrands earlier too.
Yeah.
They're just bringing out their chronographs.
Okay.
Their chronograph mods. I'll have to double check on the email, because he actually just sent it to me today.
Okay.
So
now, is all their stuff branded Namoki mods, or can you get stuff unbranded? I mean, not that I really care, but it's
their dials, I think it's all branded. I'm not sure. You know what? You'd have to double check that.
I'll double check the website.
They do have some unbranded ones.
Yeah.
But
I mean, not
for
that
the
I
most
really
part,
care.
yeah, they brand their own.
I have to assume that you might be kind of like what I was thinking. You know, when I'm putting this stuff together and you're doing these, and that's why up until now I've done everything without any branding at all, is because it's not that I have any problem. I love Seiko. I'm a Seiko, literally a Seiko lover. I have 40 of them or 30 of them, whatever. You know, but I'm like, oh, this is not, I mean, yes, it's Seiko stuff that I'm putting together, but it's really not. So I'd rather have my own Lego on. I want to be putting
100%.
I don't want them to get credit for what I built. I want credit for what I built.
You know, look really cool, Matt, on your dial is like a little owl.
I think that's taken. That's trademarked.
I started it not giving a shit in the beginning, right? Yeah. You know, it's just AliExpress parts. Who gives a shit? You know, whatever. Right. They're making it. Yeah. Then I started to care. Mm-hmm. Then I realized, okay, hang on. The molds for these parts are being sold out the back door to the shop next door.
Yeah.
Where they're just printing 100,000 more of them out and selling them for, you know, just nothing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't feel so bad about it anymore. Mm-hmm.
Well, and people buying them want that. I mean, I had a guy reach out to me that a good friend of mine.
That's it.
Yeah. He reached out to me over, was it last night before last or whatever, said, hey, can you build me 2 watches for Father's Day? Yeah. Absolutely. So we went back for 2 hours last night, but he wants Seiko branding on it. No big deal. The dial I ordered, you know, I ordered both dials with Seiko branding, or Seiko logo, and I'll do it for him, you know, but that's what he wanted. He's the customer. I'm going to do what he wants.
Yeah. 100%. You know. I wouldn't play with the bigger companies, honestly. No. But at the same time, in the last, 6 months or so, I have heard that Seiko is kind of letting modders around the world know, hey, knock it off.
Yeah. Cracking down, cease and desist.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Not being dicks about it like Rolex would, but just basically saying, hey, you know, maybe stop it.
But you know what? You slap in the hand that also feeds you too.
Exactly.
They keep your brand out there. I mean, Porsche's learning that right now with all the singers, and they're suing everybody, taking all that stuff down, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we're talking about Porsche. We're talking about Seiko.
Most of the Seiko modders are using Seiko stuff. All right.
And there's a difference. They're massive fanboys.
Right. There's a difference in buying a modded Seiko with an NH35 original, you know, whether it be TMI or you know, Seiko, you know, it doesn't really matter if it's all Seiko stuff. I have no problem with that. It's when you're buying a Rolex with a Seiko movement or something like that. I mean, listen, if you're buying a Rolex and it's a Rolex movement, but the guy's painted the dial or whatever, then so be it. Whatever. You're modding a Rolex. It's a Rolex mod. Yeah. But, you know, a Rolex with, you know, some other Chinese movement or whatever is not a Rolex. That's a fake watch at that point.
There's actually a company, I'm pretty sure they're out of LA, Relax.
Yeah.
You've seen that. You've probably heard them, seen theirs.
Yeah.
I found their dials, you know, on AliExpress.
I did as well, yeah.
I reached out to Relax and said, hey, just so you know, I'm going to make a few of these, you know, I just don't want any issues with you guys. And they're like, oh, fuck no. Yeah, you're good, man. Don't sweat it. That's cool. Appreciate you reaching out, but you're good.
Yeah.
So I've made a few awesome. Relax mods, and those are just hilarious. Mm-hmm. At least, you know, as long as you appreciate a bit of satire. Absolutely. But they just recently had to change their logo because they got a bit of flack from Rolex.
Because of the script?
Well, no, because the cornet.
Oh wow!
It was the cornet more than anything. It was just too close, right? So they put the, you know, like the little fucking crayon looking drawn crown on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got
looks a little janky now, but
the tip that's broken off.
Yeah.
They're all that way. I got a buddy of mine, one of our sponsors that does T-shirts, and he had a shirt that he had done, and it didn't have the Porsche logo, or it didn't have the Porsche crest. It had a crest. It was almost just an outline, but because it had the outline and a 911 in the photo, he got a cease and desist on that shirt, even though it wasn't the Porsche crest. It was just the outline. He told him to stop. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it happens.
All right, well, fuck all this watch stuff. Do you drink? Do you drink whiskey?
Very, very rarely.
That's
actually.
A shame, because
I don't
Canadian
drink a
whiskey
lot.
kind of sucks. Let's be honest.
So I've heard.
Yeah,
I put it in my car.
It's really good stuff.
I don't mind
Dude,
Canadian
they know
Canadian
at
whiskey
all.
is good stuff.
Out of all of us,
especially their rye. I think their ryes are really good. All right, but you talked about your car earlier. What got you into cars? Like, how did you end up with a Mazda Speed?
That was my last midlife crisis.
Were you always into cars as a kid, or?
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. I don't have any other sports that I enjoy, to be honest. I was 8 years old and I got my first like dirt bike. And after that, it was like, okay, anything with an engine goes fast, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
Got wheels, something like that. I'm interested.
So your Speed 3, is it the first gen or the second gen?
Second gen.
Okay. So it's got the funky,
is that the round more
fabric inside?
Yeah.
So the red and black kind of funky polka dot. I looked at those one
time.
Is
that the more rounded or more square?
The more rounded.
Okay.
Well, it's
yeah. I'm not sure. I guess it's more that.
Whether they're it's
we had
more
a
angular.
Mazda 3 back in the day. I thought
it's the one with the smile.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the more angular.
Yeah. I thought it was a great car. We didn't listen to Mazda Speed.
I think that time in Mazda actually was a fantastic time.
Mm-hmm.
Their styling.
Yeah, at the time I was still driving, and I had a 93 LE, which was black with red leather interior Miata that was turbocharged, of course. And they came out with that Mazda Speed 3 and the Mazda Speed Miata at that time, which was an NC. That was a good looking car that had a good power band and had a good base in which to start from. And I thought it was a great car. I still think that if they could, Mazda is such like a niche market car anyway. I think that they should do more of those sort of things. I think those cars are really nice vehicles.
They've said flat out, nope, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For now,
completely done. They've sold the last bit of the Mazda Speed name to I think the original company in the States.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake, especially as we are reversing as a world, but certainly as a country on the electric vehicle stuff.
Yeah.
Bring back some of this like Mazda Speed stuff, throw a turbocharger in these.
Yeah.
What are they in? I guess it'd be the NF, right? Like that's what we were talking about earlier, the NF Miata. But certainly the Indies, you got Flying Miata out there, which I'm a huge fan of when they're actually producing shit.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But like, these cars are great platforms. We know they're great handling vehicles. We've always known that. But throw something that has a little more power in it. The Mazda Speed name badge, you get a warranty on it. You don't have to mod it for 4 or 5 years. I think they're fantastic cars. I'm really disappointed that they've rolled that back.
Oh, for sure. Well, the Focus RS, that's the Mazda Speed engine.
Exactly.
That's the 2.3 liter engine. They just built it a little bit extra.
And that's
and give it all-wheel drive.
It's funny that the Ford Focus RS is where the current or last Mazda Speed was, right? Because the original Mazda Miata engine was a 323/ Ford engine way back in the day. So, they had the oil squirters and whatever, so that when we turbocharged them, they lasted. They were, they were quality. And now you have it still at the end of the line. It's a shame that they've decided to go elsewhere.
The sleeper was the
100%.
Mazda Speed 6.
That was all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I think it was sleeper, but it was great.
So my home track, which is NC Car down in Garysburg, North Carolina, the manager of that track, Sam, he has a Mazda Speed 6. And the thing is a beast. He gets out there, he scares, people that get in the car with him because he's ripping around it's like a 2.25 mile track. But he gets out there and he rips around, and people just don't understand that four-door sedan, four-door sedan, is that what it's called? Four-door sedan? Can rip like it can. And that Mazda Speed is tits.
Yeah, one of my customers has one.
Surprising. Yeah. It is very surprising. And my tuner is Justin Brazil from Freak Tune.
Oh,
he
okay.
actually has
I've heard of that. Yep.
he's the GOAT, period. I think he has the fastest Mazda speed, Gen 1 and Gen 2 at the moment. Bounces between him and this other guy. But his is over 1,100 horsepower, I think, at the moment.
That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've talked about
it is depressing. Sorry to interrupt you, Matt,
no, it's
but
okay.
it is depressing that this kind of worldwide turn towards electrification has cut off so many of these like sort of projects, and it's a shame because that is turned back so quickly, and I feel like we're going to miss out on some of these cool things. And I think the turn towards electrification was short-sighted, but I think the turn totally away is short-sighted. Like we got to have a slow progression towards wherever we're going. But
100%. Hybridize first.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great idea.
Could you imagine, think of the technology that's going in. So we're all Porsche guys, but the Porsche GTS with the hybrid system that's kind of like 0 to 30, 0 to 60 hybridification. That's a good word. Thank you, JP. But turn that into a better technology and apply that to a plethora of vehicles that, because the vast majority of people only care about 0 to 60, right? And so if you can do that in electric and then let the gasoline take over at 40 miles to the gallon in some sort of hybrid mode, I think, wouldn't that be better for everyone? We kind of get what we want.
But didn't essentially Porsche cure the turbo lag with the electric motor?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's 100%.
Keep it spooled up.
But that's a great way of thinking outside the box to improve an existing technology.
100%.
Well, you think about it like this. All right. I'm a momentum car guy. Before I had the 911, I had a Scion FRS, GT86, whatever you call it. Basically Toyota's version of the Miata, because it's 200 horsepower, no balls down low. There's no torque.
Excuse me?
Or deep.
Yeah, or deep.
No
whatever.
balls deep or low.
But that hybrid technology could do so much for a Miata or an FRS or a BRZ. These momentum, low torque cars. Imagine taking an FRS or a Miata, throwing in a 130 horsepower motor, all right, just standard NA motor.
Talk about efficiencies, right?
Right, and then you throw in a 100 horsepower or 150 horsepower just motor, giving you instant torque. Dude, talk about a ride.
And you could design that engine for such a narrow power band that you could design. It would be so much more powerful. The torque curve within that power band, say 4,000 to 8,000 or 4,000 to 7,000, could be so much more efficient, where you had 0 to 4 electric or electric assist, and then 4, 6, 7 could be. Go ahead, James.
Just saying, I guarantee you that the conversation we're having right now is essentially what these engineers do until the bean counter comes by their desk, and then they just shut up. Yeah. And then they go back.
They have this.
What you fucking told.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the conversation they have at the water cooler. And then when the boss comes around and says, get back to, drawing your whatever, then they go to the bar and bitch about the boss all night. So,
But it's a shame because we know, and let's just take if we're being honest, a relatively cheap or undervalued car of the Mazda 3, Mazda 6, Mazda Speed line, and you couple an engine, a hybrid assist, which we know is an expensive system, right? We know that technology is emerging, so it's expensive. But if you couple that over, a couple of years, to where you hit the market and you take the enthusiast and you say, hey, you want to race red light to red light? We got you, right? You're going to be the fastest MFer on the street because you've got the electric, motor off the line. Because we know that's the thing, right? We know Tesla is fantastic 0 to 100, 120 miles an hour before they kind of hit the brick wall.
The wall, yeah.
Which was the same with my Miata, right? It was fantastic 0 to about
unless you're a $200,000 Plaid, but yeah.
Right. but normal people aren't buying the Plaid. Mm-hmm. But you focus that quickness on that 0 to 60, 0 to 80, 0 to 100, and then you have a turbocharged engine that comes in over that, or higher in the RPM band. Mm-hmm. I think that's a beautiful marriage. And while I'm against 100% the electrification, because I don't believe in this shit and I don't think it's good, even, the environment and blah, blah, blah. But like, that is a way to segment or slowly move into that world without crushing the rest of us that love to hear an engine rev, that want to have a turbocharger, that want to have, that high end, like pool, whatever. I think it's a good marriage. And I'm not quite understanding why we can't marry the two.
So, Casey, how does all that help JP sell more watches?
Well, we moved past the JP watches. Like
we all whiskey watches and wheels. We're on the wheels part right now.
We all admitted we like his fucking watches, and that I'm going to add one to my collection, at least one to my collection. So fuck that. We moved on. We like it. We vetted it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Casey. Honestly, about all of that. That's why not just have the best of both worlds? Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can tweak
sure
it. It's all just software now.
Yeah. So. And I'm sure, like you're saying, it's software. That's true. I'm sure it's not an easy problem to solve because we haven't solved it.
We can talk out our asses,
right? But like we
but it is
some 15-year-old already has it done.
Problem.
Probably so.
Turbos have been around since forever. Okay. All you're doing is adding an electric turbo. That in essence, that really is all it is.
I saw those sold on TV a long time ago.
And guess what? We laughed at them. We laughed at them, and we said that shit can't work. And guess what? It obviously does. They figured it out, right?
So obviously, 20 years later,
is that the Ronco electric turbocharger?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
it's wild because it is an answer, right? Like it is an answer that these little tiny electric motors can spin that motherfucker like to 40,000, 50,000 higher RPMs. I don't know what the RPMs of these turbos are, but especially with variable vane technology, right, where you can change the fins of the turbo. I mean, the world of electric turbochargers opens up, and if you couple that with an electric motor, I don't know, man, that sounds pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, for sure. It also takes your 30 miles to the gallon Mazda and turns it into 50 gallons. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Your Miata, instead of being $38,000, is now $45,000. Okay, guess what? I would pay $45,000. Maybe I'm not the norm, but I would.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you, Matt, 100%. But if you can offload some of these lower end cars, and I hate to say the Miata is a lower end car because I was that buyer, but the Miata is a lower end buyer, at least in the sports car market. But if you can offload some of that, and then you transfer that powertrain into a Mazda 6. Let's just call it some Mazda 6 equivalent.
Yep.
But you luxuryize it, if that's a word. You can luxurize it. And you turn the interior into something where someone wants to be.
Well, that's basically their model right now. They're telling the public, no, Mazda is now a luxury brand. Period. They're not. I mean, okay, their cars are a little bit nicer. They're using nicer materials.
Position a Mazda 3 into a luxury brand? That thing is.
You know what they're going to do?
I'm sorry, it's not a nice car. I like it, but it's not a nice quote-unquote
No, but
car.
if you look at the Miata, or if you look at the NC Miata versus the current ND Miata, it is light years away from fit and finish on the interior. It is light years from where it was.
That's true.
But it doesn't matter.
All cars are that way.
Right. It doesn't matter what Mazda thinks they are. Well, it's what the public thinks they are.
True enough.
They can throw all the money in the world at it, but if everyone thinks it's an economy mid-level car, it's going to be that.
We used to call the emblem the emblem on the front of the Miata is the eternal shitter, right? Because it was a circle within the circle. Like it was the eternal shitter. Like, and
I've never heard that.
I love Miata. Like I love it. But the perception, and I could be wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, but I could be wrong, is that Mazda is a budget vehicle. So if they're saying, if you're saying that their marketing department is now trying to position them as a luxury or, budget plus or mid-range, premium, whatever language you want to use, I don't think that's true. It's not
so
true.
Much.
It's not true from the public perception.
But they're trying to push it so much. I don't know if it's the same down there, but up here at least, they've even increased their shop rates by 50%.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, we're a luxury brand. Sorry. Wait, this is our new shop rate. Excuse the.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're doing what now?
No, but we don't have loaners for you.
No, but the secret to all of this is platform sharing. Mazda's done it for years. Mazda uses, I think they only have like 2 engines they use across the entire board. So listen, you develop an engine, you freaking put it in everything, and guess what? The Miata's gonna benefit because you're selling it all the CX3s and CX5 and all the other ways.
And you get an upbuilt engine that you tune. Correct. And you spin that turbocharger, which it should have,
and then it becomes bulletproof.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's part of the other thing there too. What you just said it is exclusivity of their parts. Mm-hmm. They want to be more like Honda, where Honda makes everything for Honda. They don't share shit with anybody. You don't see Honda parts on a Suzuki. They want to have that because Mazda has been owned by how many different companies now?
Yeah.
And now they're back to being owned by Mazda kind of thing. Yeah. So almost solely, I think. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've got FOMO parts on my car all over the place. Lots of Ford parts. Yeah. But they want that nope, we're Japanese. We are period. It's just Mazda parts. We manufacture, we don't share, we don't accept people's offerings. It's just us.
And I get it. And if the Japanese, I think I said it earlier this podcast, but like Dan Carlin talks about the Japanese and says they're just like everyone else, but more so. And that's kind of the way that Mazda operates. Like exactly what you're saying. Like they want to be a brand, they want to be a luxury brand, but they want to keep it all within. It's all theirs. And I mean, I get it.
It's from pride.
From a branding pride standpoint, I completely get it. I don't know if it's the smartest because, again, Mazda's always been kind of a niche brand. And as much as I love them, if they're doing away with the Mazda speed stuff, like I think they're losing their niche. But
they've been talking about a new RX-7 for freaking forever, so we'll see if it ever happens.
They'll all be back.
Right.
They're bringing out a new rotary. Yeah. They've got a new rotary on the shelf, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. New RX-9 or something
like that. Yeah,
I've seen pictures. I don't know if they're total BS AI pictures, but
who knows? It'd be cool if it comes back out. So
it'd be nice if they fix the rotary.
Yeah, it would.
Permanently.
That was always fun. All right, we're an hour and 10 in. We're gonna call that a wrap. JP, dude, it was awesome having you on the program, man. Really appreciate you being here.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah, for those listening, go hit up Noctua Watches. Check out Noctua Watches. Go check out, and more importantly, Dad Mods Watches on YouTube. Give them a follow, subscribe, like.
And Instagram.
Check the content. Check out Instagram. Check out our stuff, whiskeywatcheswheels.com. Instagram, all the good stuff. JP, tell all your thousands of followers to check us out. We're trying to grow our brand as well. So
definitely. You got it.
Thank you,
fellas.
JP.
Well, on that, we are going to call it a night. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Peace out.
Have a good one.
Cheers.